Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and today we're talking about the Never Summer benchmark, and it's replacing the Shape Shifter. This is a fun, versatile, forgiving board that is good on groomers and powder. And while it does have that loose auto spinny feel that's not consistent in all conditions, and it doesn't drive that hard off the front foot versus the back foot with that extra camber, it's still a very fun, versatile ride that both Davey and I, check out his big boy take at the end, had a really good time on. So I rode this primarily with my Nitro Team TLS boots and Union Force bindings. I got this in a decent amount of conditions, everything from some good groomers to a little bit of powder. And by the way, this is an honest, objective review for you, the consumer. Never Summer has no say in this review and no money exchanged hands for us to promote this board. I can do this thanks to sponsors like Flower Board Shop, whose family run has a strong online presence, great prices, fast shipping, and excellent customer service. So if you want to support one hell of a shop that's been very good to snowboarders for decades upon decades, click through our links to Flower Board Shop and buy something. We'd greatly appreciate it. Now, when it comes to sizing, this 156 felt great for my weight and pretty good for my boot size as well as my height. This would be the size I'd get. If I was a size 10, this would be perfect. But as it stands now, it was great in the mornings when conditions are clean and easy to turn in. And it wasn't terrible when conditions got more uneven and harder to turn. But it was a little more fatiguing for me with size 9 boots than it would be for maybe you if you're my same specs and a size 10. So when it comes to shape, this is tapered and directional. The nose has a good bit more surface area and 10 millimeters more width than the tail. And you can see the tail really does taper down at the end, and it's much less wide than the nose. You don't really feel that on groomers as much, but in powder it really helps. Never Summer doesn't mark their reference stance, so I took measurements from one end for full-size discs, and when I did that, it was 0.375 inches back from center of board at a 21-inch stance width right here. Now, if you use the setback inserts for powder, and what I also found was really fun for groomers, for giving a more directional feeling ride, like you would with most free ride boards, you can get 3 inches back from center of board with a 21.75 inch stance width, and that's a stance width most can use, especially if you have good full-size discs that you can slide a little bit each way to get the stance width you want. Now, when it comes to the camber profile, you have a lot going on here. Let's start from the middle here. There is a mellow rocker. It's almost flat to a little bit of rocker, and it rockers up pretty quickly. That then goes out to an elliptical, mellower camber profile, then a little bit of early rise, and then the nose. Towards the tail, there's a more abrupt, shorter, more aggressive camber that then goes to flat and then to the tail. So this has a very loose auto spinny feel, and the firmer it gets, the more you feel that. It doesn't one foot well off the chair, and it doesn't track well when you're flat basing. It does this a lot. It's very forgiving, very easy for anybody at any ability level to ride. It's not going to be boring if you're an expert, and it's not going to be challenging as a beginner. You just have to learn to keep this always on edge just a little bit, no matter what you're doing, and then it's okay. It's not ideal. I do like the stability in all conditions of recurve camber, which they're introducing to a lot of boards these days, but this is still really fun. And when it's weighted down in softer snow, it's not that bad. Now, when it comes to edge hold, Never Summer has a multiple radius side cut that has good grip, and this can handle in hard, bordering on icy snow very well. It's a very competent grip. Let's talk benchmark flex here. You can see there's a medium-ish flex here, but the flex varies throughout the board. And there's a good bit of pop to this. Like most Never Summer boards, in the tail, it's pretty stiff. It's softer here, and as you get to this camber profile, it really stiffens up. Then between the feet, it seems like there's a little give, and it seems to keep this flex of this camber profile area here throughout the center of the board. And then you get into the nose, and it's a good bit softer, especially in this area, going all the way up to about right here, and then it starts to stiffen up over the foot again. But there's an easy break right here. It's really easy to get leverage and butter up. It wheelied up really well in powder, tail butters really well, and nose butters really well because of this rocker and this easy leverage you get. It's a little tricky to get this to pop because there are different places to access the flex. You can pop center weighted and pop off this rocker, and that works pretty well. What I like the best is loading off this extra camber in the tail, trying to pop off that. But you could also load a little bit off the front if you're trying to do an ollie, and it works okay too. And it just takes a little time to get used to. And for a tapered directional board, especially with 10 mil of taper, this rides switch pretty well, and it's a fun board to throw around switch here and there. Not a problem at all. It feels more all mountain, so it wants you to do a little bit of everything. And if you're going to go into the park, this is going to be pretty fun in the pipe and hitting kickers. Not the best jibber for average riders like us. And when it comes to uneven snow, I just love the way Never Summer balances pop and dampness. They do such a great job of not letting one be the outstanding factor over the other. So you've got great pop, but then you also have a board that's going to handle hard, uneven snow pretty well, and soft, uneven snow a little bit better. Yes, having all this board up and off the snow does make it chatter a little more and bounce, but it quiets down pretty quickly by the time it gets to your feet, and it doesn't reverberate through and up into your joints like some boards can. So it's very easy to learn how to adapt to it and manage it, and it's a good all-day ride as long as you size it correctly. Now, when it comes to turning, this initiated a turn pretty quick for my size 9 boots. It's a little bit on the mid-wide size. It's better for like a 10, 10 and a half in this size. But I found that I could turn it pretty quickly. And when I was set all the way back, I thought it had pretty good turn initiation in the trees. And it's the kind of board I wouldn't mind riding there. Now, when you commit to harder turns, it really likes a more back foot weighted turn on the carve because there's that extra camber here. And what I found is interesting is if you set up on the setback inserts on groomers, you're more over the center point of the camber or closer to it, and it engages much better and drives much harder. Now, if you center weight your turns and you're over this rocker, what I found is it does hurry you up through the turn, and it doesn't have this hold and spring out of the turn like the back foot does. Then if you engage this front foot and try to drive hard off the front foot, it can feel a little washy in the tail, and it doesn't really have that drive and spring like the back foot does. This is coming from a perspective of riding like most normal snowboarders ride. Now, if you ride like you're an instructor with really wide knees and bow-legged, you can lean out and access this camber a little easier in the tip and tail. And this has a pretty balanced turning radius that I found was fun to make across the groomer carves. Maybe not the best at circle carves, but very, very doable. And then medium to down the line turns were pretty fun. It didn't fight me or feel hooky. And when you're making those longer, drawn out, more high speed S turns, there's enough dampness here to do that for a little bit. But as you get closer to a straight line, you don't really want a flat base because this can feel a little weird. You want to be slightly on edge. So it's not ideal for pointing it, even though the side cut doesn't fight you too much. There's just a little bit of chatter, and there's that little bit of instability that the rocker in the middle creates when going straight. Is it fine for straight lining into a huge kicker? Yes. It's just not great for long, sustained straight lines on a big mountain. It takes some getting used to. It can be done, and it can be done very well, but it's different than a lot of other boards. Now, when it comes to base glide, I think Never Summer bases are really good. They can get a little thirsty and dry, and you have to stay on it with waxing, but a wax job lasts pretty long, so you don't have to wax it every day or every other day, but every few days of intense riding, you might want to do that. Overall though, I like the base glide, keeps its speed very well, and it's definitely upper tier. Maybe not the fastest of fast, but pretty fast. Not a fan of the die cut, but God, they do it well. I can barely feel the cuts. And when it comes to powder, I love these setback inserts. This tapered tail with a lot less surface area than this bigger nose. This rocker, everything worked together to give this the best float in powder of all the boards I tested this year from Never Summer. And that's including the Proto Freeride, the Never Summer Eclipse, the Prototype 3 with setback inserts, the Proto Ultra with setback inserts, and the new Trooper, the evolution of the Snow Trooper. This had the best float. Davey and I both had a time on this in powder. It just really lights up. So overall, other than this loose feeling, this is a fun board. It has good pop, good grip, great float for what this is, and it's a very well-built, versatile ride.
How we doing, folks? Davey Boy here, and today I'm going to be talking about a big guy's perspective for the Never Summer benchmark. Look at this bad Larry. I rode this board a ton of days, probably 15, maybe 20. I'm just gonna drop a little hint. I love this thing. Right now, with my list I got going of all the boards I reviewed this year, and this right now is my second favorite of every board I tried this year. This is going to be a big guy's favorite. I almost thought I was going to be booting out on this, but I wasn't. This thing is super poppy. It has a whole nother spring to it than almost any other board I rode this year. I'm not sure what tech they're doing with this board, but wherever they're doing, this thing has a whole nother level of bounce to it. Like, I literally felt like I had lost maybe 30 pounds with how much better I was jumping. I wasn't even doing anything, but this board was letting me access another level of pop. I started looking at transitions differently. I don't want to knock off any trademarks, but this thing is a transition hunter, I would say. This thing can find it really well, and I started looking at shit differently. What would have been kind of just like an air off of a natural cornice or wind lip that was going to land in transition, now I'm looking and I'm like, ooh, maybe next time I come in twice as fast and I'm actually going to clear that to the next one. And now I'm gapping 8 to 10 feet instead of just like a casual 5 to 6. And that's without even trying. This board was just naturally that poppy and naturally that fun. And then we take a second and we look at this awesome ass setback stance. If you're making twins, just throw it in. It's so easy. It's just 4 screws and it changes a board and it opens up a board like this for a whole new world of possibilities. This thing floated real good. I got this out in some deep powder. I'm talking 2.5, 3 feet of snow. Some of the deeper days of the year. I got this off the backside of the summit of Mount Bachelor, and I got it off northwest on Mount Bachelor, 2 of our longest, steepest areas of terrain. And I had no issues with this board floating, and I had a ton of fun. This is hands down one of my favorite boards. I really want to get my hands on this and add it to my quiver. This is a board, if I never ride again, I will never forget. And I really hope I get to ride it again. Definitely planning on adding this to the quiver. This is going to be a big guy's favorite. If you're somebody that wants a really fun poppy board, you can ride around on groomers in shallow snow in the slush and take it through the park and have it do kind of everything. But then also have these custom setback inserts so you can pop her back, get that extra float and powder, turn it into a true quiver killer. This is it. This board rocks.